Hello, and welcome to Truth is Knocking Ministries. In this episode, we're going to be talking about sexual sin. So it says in the Bible, Jesus is warned specifically about sexual sin. There's no other sin like sexual sin. Other sins, you sin outside your body, but when you sin sexually, you sin against your own body. The Bible talks about things like the wasting of the flesh, sins of youth in your bones, and things like a woman committing adultery, having the wasting of the legs and swelling the stomach. So that this wasting of flesh, this defilement of the body that happens in so many ways, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. This is one of the biggest kept secrets of the medical industrial complex. This thing with sexual defilement and how it can affect your health and affect your well-being in so many ways. So how this thing works with defilement is that your body is designed for monogamy. You're designed to have to form a one flesh bond with a spouse, and when you form that one flesh bond in marriage, you form a common DNA expression. You can't have an individual DNA expression, but you form a common DNA expression between you and your spouse, and then you have that one flesh bond that's meant to bond you for life. But that same thing thing that's supposed to bond you for life can also stain you and tear apart the fabric of your being if you sin sexually against your body. What's meant to be like strong enough to bond you for life can also cause extreme damage to your being. When you start having multiple long-term sexual relationships, you start forming multiple one-flesh bonds, and it's like having like 3 heads or 4 heads or 5 heads, and things are triggering. Things are associated with those one-flesh bonds. So what they're telling you is sexual freedom is actually sexually putting yourself in bondage, wrapping yourself in chains. It's like those music videos where they get the woman wrapped in chains or barbed wires or something like that. That's what you're doing to yourself. Then you can't love freely. You can't form a pure relationship with people because you get all these stains and you've been tearing your apart with your sin. And so your sexual freedom comes when you practice abstinence to marriage and monogamy, and then you can fully bond with somebody and love somebody. And that's why it's important to keep yourself pure. And if you've fallen into sin, to repent and turn from that sin, and let's Jesus help repair you. We can't always undo all the damage, but can help restore you as in all kinds of ways, and rather than this exponential, slippery slope that you get into with your sin. This forming these multiple one flesh bonds or multiple DNA expressions, or people engaging in adultery, having like 2 competing one flesh bonds and just tearing the fabric of their being apart. It can have all kinds of effects on your health. You could some of these effects it's going to have on your, you could have the same effects with just like stress and things like that. Like say you say you're going to if you're going to lose your hair or something like that, you could lose that from stress, or chemotherapy will cause you to lose your hair, but also adultery could cause you to lose your hair, or have your hair discolored in any of your hair, or all kinds of things throughout your whole being like that. You don't know how it's going to affect you. Mentally it could cause the symptoms of psychotic disorders like depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, hypomania. It doesn't mean that people have those labels, or is because those labels are thrown around so loosely, and also it could be any number of reasons to have these labels: stress, or childhood sexual abuse, or all kinds of things. So you don't judge people based on their afflictions, but just put this out there so that you can decide if this applies to you. The sexual sin can tend to cause those psychotic disorder symptoms in people. And they don't have a mental health label on them, but they just get away with their behaviors in their families or in their workplace or whatever. And other people suffering the consequences of those behaviors may end up with these mental health labels. They're suffering from anxiety and stress because they're suffering they're suffering the behaviors of these other people that are engaging in sexual sin. So like that's why it's like it can I mean to think that you're not gonna feel depressed if you engage in wicked deeds or sins is ridiculous. Like, or if you think you're not gonna engage, bipolar, they could be hypomanic, they're getting paranoid and stuff like that. This is what adultery or in the fornication, adultery, and the sexual sin. This is the types of what at least that's why they'll diagnose. That's why at least sometimes they'll diagnose somebody. Oh, we thought they were depressed, or we thought they were bipolar. Now we think they're schizophrenic. They go through a cycle of things when they engage in this sin. Usually psychotic disorder type symptoms, and others around them may be suffering the anxiety, stress disorders because they're around these people. But it's got nothing to do with who's got these labels on them or whatever it is. This is most of these people are just. They're just getting away with this. They're doing it in their families or in their workplace or wherever. But like, this is the effects of sexual sin. It's ripping you. You're messing yourself up when you engage in sin, and you're hurting the people around you, and you're damaging your body, putting yourself in the state of carnal sin. You could be conceiving children through the adultery, and then they're going it's the same thing that's affecting you is going to be affecting the kid before they're born, and affecting being born in the state of carnal sin because you've engaged in that sin. So this is this destructive defilement that you're doing to yourself and others when you engage in that sin. And I just if you're young out there, this is you're vulnerable. They're coming into this stuff with the schools. They try to promote all their sex education. They're trying to sell billions of dollars in birth control and condoms and stuff like that. And they don't care if you mess yourself up, or they don't care if this is something that's gonna affect you or affect your ability to bond with your future spouse. You want your happiness. You want to be able to save yourself for marriage, so you can you want to be able to have your full self to give to your future spouse, be able to love your future spouse, bond with your future spouse, and and the same in return. You want to have all that be able to have that the freedom to love, and that's why it's important to practice abstinence to marriage and monogamy, and you don't even kiss to marriage. Have that romantic first kiss wedding. That's the way it's. Yeah, that's what you're designed for, the way it's meant to be. Satan wants to promote all this sin and mess you up in so many ways, and then it tears apart the family and tears apart the whole society when this sexual deviance just runs like wildfire. You have here in the going on with this, now they have the sex education. Now they're coming at the homosexual agenda and the transsexual agenda in our schools. This all went down, in communist Russia. They started with the sex education, then they wanted young elementary school age kids to experiment with sex and all this stuff like that. It's just deviance. It's just sexual deviance because people are living these sinful lives and they're not at peace, and they want to externalize it all. And they somehow their rationale was that they wanted to think that they were normal or something like that when they're engaging in all this sin, and then they wanted to they thought they would normalize it. If the kids engage in all this sin at a young age, they'll think it then it will just normalize everything, and all they're doing is just destroying themselves and destroying their whole society, the kids, everything. This is society's in collapse. This is what the deviance, the sexual deviance of communist Russia or Nazi Germany or ancient Rome or Sodom and Gomorrah. This is civilization falling stuff. And now we see with this in the schools. What's going on in some schools in the States now? You're this transsexual, with the transsexual agenda. They're talking about early intervention transsexualism. And they want to encourage kids to become transsexuals if they see any transsexual tendencies in the elementary schools and daycare centers. I mean, this is getting pretty sick. Some guy picks up a doll or something like that, or a girl's engaging in boyish behaviors. Now they want to sit there and impose and imprint, this transsexual stuff, at early intervention transsexualism. This is the acting out of a society gone into deviance. This is not, this, and this homosexual agenda. I mean, in this, I talk about this because this is like, they go on as if it's like racism or something like that. It's got nothing to do with racism. Homosexuals weren't never segregated from society or made to sit in the back of the bus or anything else like that. It's, this is a behavior, and I believe in live and let live. If that's what you're doing in your private life, that's your business, right? But when you start bringing it in the schools is a problem. Like, I had elementary school teacher that was gay back in the 80s or something like that. No one knew at the time or something, and no one really cared. I mean, like, it's you live and let live. But they didn't have to come. They didn't come into schools and say, "Oh, okay, class, I'm gay" or something like that. Now we have all this gay stuff, like in the grade ones, and there were the gay pride and the flags and all this kind of stuff like that. And this is like just to explain how inappropriate it is. I was doing some protests one time for the against vaccinations and stuff, and some guy came up to me and was telling me about. He said, "Oh, I could tell you're a Christian," and I thought I could tell you this stuff. And he started telling me the stuff about his childhood sexual abuse and stuff, and he just kept trying to explain to me how angry he was. He was like, as a teenager and young adult and stuff. He just said you just couldn't believe, how angry he said he just couldn't believe how angry he was, and he's going on about his anger and how he was trying to deal with his anger and stuff and this stuff, and so that just kind of shed some light on that. Just kind of shed a lot of light on this stuff that you got like 1 in 6 kids that are 1 in 6 boys sexually abused as a child. And here in Nova Scotia, we've had all kinds of sex scandals with all the the young boys and stuff like that, and so they come to school to learn to read and write. Some of these people are angry, and they're trying to come to school. It's supposed to be a place to read and write, and and they get all this gay stuff, like all this gay agenda, gay pride, gay flags, gay this, gay that, and if they show any sign of discomfort, they're called homophobic. I mean, this is crazy. It's not appropriate, like it's just, can't they keep it in their own lives, in their own bedrooms? I mean, and it's like we don't, celebrate this deviant lifestyle that's sin. If the rest is just, if you think it's not sin, that's your business. You live and let live. But other people, don't expect other people, like we're all supposed to celebrate it, or we're homophobic. That's the most ridiculous word ever, It's like we're not afraid to speak out against it, and it's not appropriate to be pushing it in schools like this. There could be some boys in the school that are trying to keep it together and aren't comfortable with this, and there's this, why is it in the schools? No one's invading your bedrooms, or they act as if they're being discriminated. No, they're not being discriminated against. No one's invading your bedrooms. They're not sitting in the back of the bus, and people aren't. But except the the demons they're possessing themselves with, I guess, are invading their lives. If that's why they need to come to Jesus and free themselves of this. Just so it's just it's not good, and most of the people that identify a lot of these people identify as gay, they don't like the gay agenda anyway, because it's gonna come back at them. It's like some of the people pushing this are pedophiles. That push this stuff in the schools. That's all it is. It's just just like they've had these sex scandals in these boys' schools and stuff. They just want to they're just acting out. They're not at peace, and they have to act out, and they'll keep pushing. It's a pedophile agenda. These people that are behind it they're just it's just deviance. People aren't at peace. That's why they have to do this. Otherwise they just be their own bedrooms, wherever it is. This is what went down, and like in communist Russia, getting the kids to experiment with sex. And we're seeing in the States, they're trying to encourage the transgender behavior in young kids, elementary school, daycare age kids. I mean, this is the acting out of deviance in the fall of a society. So just keep your own stuff in your own bedroom and live and let live. This is not good. In this upside down society we're living in, I saw this poster one time. It had a young woman on it. It said, "Protect your sexual health." And it had a picture of a doctor with a needle. It was an advertisement for the HVP vaccine. And I was thinking, in a sane world, that poster would say, protect your virginity, and have a picture of a father with a rifle, and it'd be an advertisement for the rifle. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it inspires you to stay away from sexual sin and save yourself from marriage, abstinence till marriage, and monogamy. First kiss wedding. And if you've got sin in your life, or everybody has some sin in their life in one form or another, repent and turn to Jesus. Become virgin again by being born again, being washed with the blood of Christ, and grow in your life from there. Thank you very much, and God bless.